I'm sure many of you have heard that the Ministry of Environment figures sawdust is a danger to us. And we have to close up sawmills because of sawdust and bark piles. Well, in Lanark, we've told them we're not going to let them close down anymore. In the last year, they've closed down 8 small family sawmills, thrown about 100 people out of work, and ruined the lives of 8 families. And we've said we're not going to let them close down any more mills in Lanark and Renfrew. And the MOE is going to get the message clearly.
You can hear this whole log drivers call.
We're here now with Earl Sarr, a sawmill operator in the Pembroke area. This is his sawmill operation that hasn't been operating for 2 years now.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years.
We were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about why you're standing here with a sawmill operation that isn't running.
A couple of years ago, maybe in June or so, I got a letter from MOE, Ministry of Environment, saying that they would like to come in, and I said fine, and there was 3 big black vans come in, and they had costumes that you put on up at, I think from the atomic energy plant maybe, you know, and they got out. That scared me. They kept me in the office with Mr. Poley, and we talked about everything. Said, well, we're done, we inspected your place, and I said, how was it? And they said, you'll get a report. So I guess I got reports ever since then. They instructed me to hire a consultant to tell me what to do. And I, being 72 years old, I thought, jeepers now. I knew a young consultant in Ottawa, he was only about in his 20s. I said, I think I know just as much as him, because I have another company with my sons, and we build sawmills, or we put them together or get them started. And we went to Moscow, Russia, and we went to Estonia twice, and we were into Guyana, South America. I built a sawmill there. And the last one, I guess we were over in Haiti, and we got all that done. So I think I knew just as much as that young guy there in Ottawa who wanted $2,500 from me just to say hello. And I said, well, I'm living in Pembroke, so I better say I only have $25 for gas, so I better go home with that. But he came up anyway, it was good, and he said what we do, and he done this for nothing, you know. He said what we do is put a well there and one here, and that was a beaver pond behind there. And he said we'd put another well down where the water goes out, and we could test the water there. Just go to Canadian Tire and get yourself some 1.5-inch plastic pipe, drill some holes in it, plug the bottom, and sharpen it, and have it driven down there. Bring up a thimble full of water and send the sample in, and do that every 2-3 times a year if you want. So I did that. But then one thing led to another, and they made an estimate that there was 54,000 cubic meters or something of this stuff here. Well, this I got out of here in the past 2 years now, out of that area. I scraped right down to the clay, and that's what we call waste now. I guess that's what the environment would call waste, but I'm calling it compost. And since then, the beavers, I had them trapped out of here. I guess that's against the law too. But seemingly that's what the MOE wanted. I don't know, they were calling that all debris. And the beavers were very upset about that, because I think they built a better dam than I could build out of debris. So anyway, that's about it. I've been in court 8 times now, and still no answer.
What do they say in court?
Remanded till whenever. I don't know what's happening there, but I think after 2 years they should have come to some agreement. They were here last Thursday, MOE, and asked if they could bring 3 people, and I had 3 people, and I said, what do you want done? Like, can I use some of that to level this road out here? Yes, it's your own road. You're not going on public property. And I said, well, how deep can I go? Because that's a slight hole there for these transports to come in so that I can load them on that loading ramp. And he didn't know how deep I could go or how shallow. So I don't think they have any laws.
Shutting down your sawmill was a result of their investigation and their process in court.
There was a lot of publicity about that in the papers, I guess, and I don't know if it was good or bad, but my customer said, gee, I can't bring you any more logs because MOE says that if you hit a log or a tree with the axe and put a notch in it or make a mark on it, then it is going to be a waste product. So we're afraid that they might seize our logs, or they may even seize our lumber that we have here in your yard. So my customers shut me down, really, but not their fault though.
Did you have very many employees?
Yeah, we had 12 here.
So does anyone want to take this over? Anyone in your family?
Well,
want to
we have
work?
to get this, yeah, I've got an older son, Richard, and his son, my grandson, Adam, he went back to university again. And Richard, he went back to school and got his degree in teaching English. So I don't know, we've been in business here since 1946. My father and I started when the big hydro line went through the woods there. It went right through all these pine forests right up to the Swishaw, and that's when we had to build a sawmill, or the customers or the people that had all their logs cut, the logs would have decayed, you know, and they wouldn't have got anything out of it. But 1946, that's you know, 50, 60 years that we were in business, and never would we ever think of making the environment a bad thing, because we started off in agriculture, and you don't put stuff in your fields that doesn't make your crops grow, you know. In fact, there was never any commercial fertilizer or any spray on this farm ever. And the hydro came in and started spraying one day, and I had a heck of a time shutting them down. And they killed my lilac trees and strawberry plants and the garden of my cousin that lives right beside the hydro line. So that was that. I said, no spraying on our property ever. He said, what are we going to do with the bushes and the shrubs that come up in the right-of-way? I said, I'm going to put some of this stuff on it. We'll put a foot of that on there. And I went to the Ministry of Environment at that time. That's got to be 10 years ago. And I said, can I spread sawdust, bark, and mulch on that hydro line to keep the weeds from growing, the weed trees? And he said, yeah. I said, can I put it on a big pile and store it? He said, if you store it on a pile, you have 1 year. Then you can put it out on that right-of-way. And that's what we did. I think that's what they should be looking at, instead of hiring bulldozers and a whole bunch of guys with little whippersnippers and little chainsaws trying to cut little trees. Just cover it all with this stuff here. A1, good, dandy. I see it down in Queen's Park. I see it in Ottawa.
Covering flower beds?
Yeah.
And they claim that your pile of sawdust
debris,
bark is environmental waste.
Yeah, well, an environmental hazard.
Environmental hazard.
Now, the only hazard I can see in that is the odd stone there, because when they put that through a grinder to grind those pieces of wood, the stones would be bad.
Have they closed any other sawmills down in this area?
Not really shut down, but Gulick is in the same problem with me. He's up in the lower end of the county, and I was the upper end here, and I guess they thought that if we get one from each end of the county, we would squeal on all the other sawmillers, but we didn't. We asked them all to come to a small sawmillers association, and they did, and we never gave any names out to MOE. But now they found a way to find them out. They go into the M&R office and get their mill license number, so their address is right on there. So I see today they did a water test at Poppy's mill up here in Alice. They've have started looking at all the other ones too, the ones they know of.
Do you wonder why they're doing this?
No, I can't understand. I think there's a whole bunch of other things they could be doing with that manpower, because they're going to spend the money anyway.
Earl spent the day driving us around to sawmills. Many of them were hidden.
He tries to hide it in here too.
These guys are hiding because
they're afraid. Yeah. Why should you be afraid?
Exactly.
Of working? I'd be afraid not to work. I'd try and hide, you know, but it's more trouble trying to hide from working, you know, and taking your check from the government than it is to go and work. Jeez, you know, terrible. The country is done, I think. Whatever your father told you is right, that's wrong now. At last you just throw up your hands and say, what the hell am I doing this at 72 years old? The M&R sent me a sawmill permit to operate a forest resource processing facility, license number 5633, every year. This is 2003's. And I've got 2004's up at the mill. You know, why would the government give me that? But that's a different government. That's the MNR. And it's MOE that's driving around, trying to harass us. You know, it teases you, it ticks you off.
This is the Ministry of Environment that's told him that he has material that maybe could cause a human health impact, but they haven't told him what.
The logs come in like these ones here on the ground, and the table is full up there, the skidway. Then they go through that machine and they're debarked. It takes all the dirt and the outer layer of the bark off of it, and this is the waste that comes off of it. But I don't like to call it waste because you get $6 a ton for that at Temple. So we load up a transport and maybe have 40 tons on it, and it'll actually pay for the trip and the fuel and the truck driver, and you end up with a little money left over. And the chips that they also buy, but a lot more than $6 a ton, it's about $60 a ton for good chips. And the sawdust, and they grind that all up, make it into a slurry, and then they make the real good nice, it looks like plywood that comes out, and they actually make cupboard doors out of it and design it and everything. You have no waste in a sawmill, because I think if you had waste and tried to just put that away somewhere, you wouldn't be in business, because you need that extra income to pay the men and to pay the fuel and to pay the hydro and the energy. We've been taking a load of this a week, every week, and sometimes two, to our waste management site, because it's all wet on the floor there where the people work, and the ladies are saying, gee, my feet are always wet, because they're sorting cans and bottles and plastic, and it all goes into a right bin. So all this sawdust, bark and chips, that goes out into a, I guess they call it a composter, and the heat is put into that, and it's ready for compost in less than a month. And they haven't got any left. Everybody come out and bought it for $15 a cubic meter.
There's a valley I know where the tall timbers grow, where the Ottawa River flows swiftly along.
He's been 62 years working on the saw, and he's always been on the right side of the law. But MOE officials stopped him cold, and his sawmill working days were put on hold. The black vans that arrived that day with flair held men in hazard suits who didn't care about the little gang they're working on the saw, who now were on the wrong side of the law. He tried to say it wasn't really waste of the sawdust, bark and chips that they discovered on his place. He told them if they took a look around, they would find it on the flower beds in town. But they drove away with samples in their hands of the evidence they took from on his land, with promises to send him a report, and if he followed it, he wouldn't go to court. So after court all seven times he went, till the money for the lawyers that he hired was all spent. And again he tells his story, and his story is all true, and the judge says, I'll be getting back to you. The rumor is they never found the waste, and there wasn't any toxic stuff discovered on his place. But if you take a stroll on government ground, some hazardous material will be found. Listen up while I tell you what to do before the same thing happens. Yes, it happens next to you. Join your rural friends, join and take a stand, and get a sign that says back off our land. Join your rural friends, join join and take a stand and get a sign that says back off our land.
My dad owns a sawmill, and the Ministry of Environment came in to, I guess, attempt to try and shut him down. I think at that point the sawmill was like very environmentally friendly. There was almost no waste coming out of it. Everything was recycled and reused. They walked past the diesel tanks and whatnot, which could have been of environmental hazard, and they just went straight to his sawdust piles, stating that it was environmentally unfriendly or unsafe or whatever. It was pretty upsetting anyway, just thinking that all that work had went down the drain after 27 years of his hard work. I thought right then that probably that would be the end of the whole family business. With the help of the Lanark Landowners Associations, they've never been back, and this is 2 years now since that's happened, and so far so good.
After joining the LLA and also the Wood Producers of Ontario, I realized that I'm not alone. There are 40-some sawmills with the same toxic substance as me in Renfrew and Lanark alone. When I joined, I was a very troubled person. I had just had a visit from the Minister of the Environment and the bureaucrats and realized that they could put me out of business, and everything I had worked for the last 28 years could be in jeopardy. I also discovered that farmers and abattoirs, campgrounds and other small businesses were hurting in the same way as I was, all from the hands of bureaucrats or of our elected dictatorship. They've gotten freedom and safety reversed. Freedom must always come before safety, or our veterans fought for nothing. I've never voted for a politician in my life and asked him or her to protect me from myself. This is a job that they've taken on by themselves and to enforce. The fight we're involved in now is a lot more than just sawdust, nutrient management and chlorinated water. It's about having the freedom to make a living off your property, having the freedom to enjoy your property and the fruits of your labor, and not have to worry about our government arriving and putting you out of business. It's not every day that you can join an organization that is dedicated to a cause and has leaders that have the foresight to realize we must stick together as a large amalgamated group. All for one and one for all. People, we want true justice and freedom and a whole lot less government control. Long live the Lanark landowners and other likewise groups. Thank you.